Here's a sentence I never thought I'd be uttering on video, but here we go. In Nashville, the country music capital of the world, the whole town is talking about Post Malone's new country album, F Trillion. Yeah. And Post Malone is known for his work in rap, pop, R&B, trap, or genres which many people would classify as urban. And even by definition, urban is the exact opposite of country, which is one of the many reasons why it's such a surprise that Post Malone is doing a country album. What makes this album so intriguing isn't just about the music, but also about the way it's received, especially when you compare it to another R&B pop superstar that released a country album. I'm talking about Beyoncé's The Cowboy Carter. So why is Post being welcomed with open arms by the country music industry, while Beyoncé has faced a bit more pushback? Is it just about the music, or are there other factors in play here? And before I open up this giant can of worms, I just want to set some expectations. Yes, I'm going to review Post Malone's album and share some of my thoughts on it, but this discussion is going to go far beyond the music. Sometimes albums like this tell us more about ourselves and society than they do about the artists themselves. So if you're ready to explore what these two albums might reveal about our culture and ourselves, please stick around for what may be a little bit of a longer and more thought-provoking ride. And before I embark on this interesting discussion, I just want to set some ground rules. If you're here to argue a point, get upset, prove a point, rather than be open and participate in the exchange of meaningful ideas, this video, and my channel as a whole, may not be for you. So I'm not here to fearmonger, feel self-righteous, or tell you that you're a bad person if you don't agree with me. My goal is to encourage thoughtful, meaningful dialogue, and to really offer a space where we can all consider different perspectives with an open mind. If you do comment, I ask you watch the entire video before making up your mind. And to show me you've done that, please include the code word fish sticks in your comment so that I know you've watched the entire video. If you don't, that's cool. I'll just delete your comment. All right, here goes. Before I even talk about Post Malone and his country credentials, I want to talk about my unique perspective and background when it comes to country music. See, when I moved to Nashville and started playing in 2022, I legit hadn't heard or played a single note of country music in my lifetime. I'm what people would call a Yankee. Yes, I play country music now amongst a wide variety of other styles, and I live in the country music capital of the world, which is Nashville, Tennessee. But does that make me country or an authority on it? Absolutely not. And for me, coming at country music from an outsider's perspective allows me to view it through what I think is a more objective lens. Unlike many musicians down here who grew up with it and have a deep emotional connection to the genre, I simply don't have a dog in this fight. And this distance gives me a little bit of a detached, maybe a more neutral point of view. While I also don't want to discount the people that grew up listening to this music, because you inherently understand the music of your youth. I've noticed tons of chatter, both online and in person, amongst my musician peers about Post Malone's new album. It's a crossover rap R&B star doing a country album and bringing a whole new set of eyes and ears and wallets into the country music scene. And the thing about Post Malone's new album, F Trillion, is that it's filled with country music bona fides. I could go down the list. It's like a who's who of co-writers, guest artists. Hell, it even has the current matriarch of country music, Dolly Parton, on it. And I think it's safe to say if Dolly Parton gives her stamp of approval, it's country. I would say that people are pleasantly surprised, shocked, and really enjoy the album. And so all this talk really got me thinking. Post Malone's F Trillion isn't the only album this year where an artist has made a dramatic left turn from R&B, rap, pop, over to country. Beyoncé's The Cowboy Carter made a similar pivot. And similarly, she used lots of country music bona fides on that album. I mean, Willie Nelson, Dolly Parton are on that album. Again, I think if they're on it, that has to be a country music stamp of approval. And I think both Post Malone's album and Beyoncé's album brought tons of new ears and new money into the genre. Also, both albums kind of have transcended genre and just become topics of conversation amongst people who aren't even into music. And what I've noticed overall, from my perspective, is that the response to Beyoncé's album has been very different. It seems like there was a lot more pushback leading up to the release, and a lot more mixed reviews amongst the musicians I know here in Nashville. And the industry as a whole didn't seem quite as welcoming to Beyoncé's album or her as an artist. So my question is, why? What are the differences between these two albums and these two artists? Is one of them considered more of a culture vulture than the other? Is it a musical style issue? Is it a sonic issue? Is it a race or a gender issue? So let's unpack some of those. Let's talk about just the musical differences between the two albums. I sat down and listened to Post Malone's F Trillion yesterday, front to back. And I gotta say, the album has some seriously solid songwriting, some catchy tunes, and outstanding musicianship. I think Brent Mason's playing guitar on it. He's about as country as it gets when it comes to guitar. Now, some parts of the album may feel just like a touch overproduced for my taste, but overall it's super solid, carries this distinctive 90s vibe to it, while also incorporating some modern twists. Overall, I'd say it's an extremely enjoyable album. You can tap your toe along with it, catchy hooks. It's a good album, and it's really accessible. I'm surprised in a pleasant way. It has this familiar, comforting, safe feeling that country music often provides. I can easily see a number of these tunes being played daily on Nashville's Lower Broadway. And after I listened to Post Malone's album, I decided to directly listen to Beyoncé's The Cowboy Carter. And it is like a complete left turn. That's not saying it's good or bad, but it is wildly different. For me, Beyoncé's album feels more conceptual, more thought-provoking. It's kind of presenting some of this music through a different lens and reimagining some common themes. And I think the album's freaking great too. I think it can meander a little bit, and it's a bit long, but I think it's solid and it's important. I dig it. And the thing about great art is sometimes it forces us to look inward and re-examine ourselves. And this album did that for me. I'd give the nod to Post Malone for being more immediately accessible and commercial, where Beyoncé's album kind of scratched more of my intellectual itch. Again, not good or bad, just different. Think about it like food. If Post Malone's album was a dish, it would be like a greasy cheeseburger made just like the way you like it from back home. It's comforting, satisfying. It brings back some nostalgia for you. Whereas Beyoncé's album is like if you go to this concept dining, where the dishes and presentation are almost like art and meant to be digested slowly and pondered over. It's not better or worse, it just is. So I'd say Post Malone's album is more commercial, more accessible to a wider audience, more catchy, while Beyoncé's album is more artistic and more ambitious in its scope. So all of this has gotten me thinking, what is country music? How do you define it? Is it a sound? Is it a geographic region? Is it a look, a vibe, a culture, a lifestyle? I'm sincerely asking, especially me being an outsider, how do we evaluate what is and what isn't country? But then also, why does it matter? So let's break it down piece by piece. Is country music about a sonic footprint? Do you have to have twin fiddles and a steel guitar? Or can you use elements of rap and hip hop like drum machines, 808s, and synths? I know Morgan Wallen has incorporated lots of elements of rap and hip hop into his music, and has received a pretty solid response, as I know that I play songs all the time on Broadway. So I don't think it's exactly about a sonic footprint, but maybe it's more about a musical style. And I'm not the first to say it, but a fair amount of modern country music is stylistically very close to rap and hip hop. Think a clap track, a snap track, a drum machine track for the verse. It's kind of more chill, talky, vibey. And then boom, big chorus, catchy hook that everybody can sing and dance to. So Jason Aldean, country music star who regularly packs stadiums, had a huge hit with this formula, Dirt Road Anthem. And Dirt Road Anthem to me is essentially a hip hop song with a twang. And that's not a bad thing. And I'm guessing everyone on Nashville's Lower Broadway has played that song at one point or the other. So in that same breath, check out Old Town Road by Lil Nas X, who happens to be a gay black artist. Similar formula, right? Rap, hip hop, trap elements, and a country music theme with a talky verse and catchy hook of a chorus. Hell, even the remix had Billy Ray Cyrus on it. But I also noticed that Lil Nas X's tune was removed from Billboard's country charts. I don't think I've ever been requested that song on Broadway or have heard it on Broadway. And my feeling is that it hasn't really been embraced quite as much by the country music community, even though it's been a huge hit. So my question is, why isn't that song fully embraced? It's very close stylistically to other country songs that are frequently played on Broadway. It has a household country name on the track. It's performed by a Southerner and has a Western theme and imagery. So we've determined that sonic qualities and stylistic qualities don't necessarily define country music. So then what does? And I've heard many country music fans and musicians bemoan people just hopping on the country music trend because it's popular and emerging. And my question is, if they are in fact doing that just to sell albums, why is that such a bad thing? I mean, isn't that the whole goal? And isn't that the American dream? To make money doing what you love? And when you think about it, country music, in part, is really based on the American dream. Specifically, themes of how hard work will get you to where you want to go. And trust me, writing a catchy country tune is some pretty hard work. Shouldn't somebody be rewarded for that? And why are we so quick to judge artists jumping on trends? After all, isn't that what we do on social media? Like, are we really thinking of, oh, this is gonna be the most authentic way of expressing myself when you make a post that is similar to the theme that everyone else is doing at the time? I'd say no. We're more driven by our desire to get likes, affirmation, to make something while it's popular, to drive engagement. And there's nothing wrong with that. So why is it different when a musical artist does the same thing? Is country music more about having a collective set of values, about pure, wholesome American music? I've noticed a lot of critics of other genres like rap, hip hop, R&B. They often comment on their distaste for those genres because they express a lack of respect for law enforcement and law and order. Whereas country music has some more pure, wholesome songs that are patriotic and honor our servicemen and women. But what about classic country songs like Rocky Top, Copperhead Road, modern day Bonnie and Clyde? Songs that celebrate violence and even the murder of police and romanticize the outlaw way of living. How is that different? What about songs about single mothers unsuccessfully trying to keep their sons away from the devil, away from raising Cain or raising hell? There are multiple country songs, classic country songs, that are on that very subject. But yet, anytime that occurs in rap, one of the criticisms is that genre or the people in that genre, their lack of family values. And these are honest, sincere questions that I'm asking here. It's not a game of gotcha. I'm curious about other people's perspective on this. And from my understanding, country music is very much rooted in the simple expression of the experience of one core identity, that of being an American. And country music is about as American as it gets. It's really just a blend of all these styles into one, making it uniquely American. So perhaps we should ask ourselves the question, what is a true American? Or in the bigger picture, what is America and who is America for? So I know this video is going to raise a lot more questions than it does answers, and really that's my intent. And I don't think there is a definitive answer to this. And very much like life, in music, there are very few black and whites. We don't live in this binary world. Rather, I think the truth and the beauty really lies in these gray areas, in all this nuance. And I think unpacking that nuance can take a lot of effort and time and patience and willingness to engage with other people. And some of you may agree with me, some of you may strongly disagree with me. I don't think that makes you a good or a bad person. There really aren't sides in this. It's meant to be an exchange of ideas between musicians. And earlier in my career, I was very cut and dry with my points of view and my beliefs. I was pretty quick to shut folks down if they had a different perspective or something that I didn't think was as progressive as mine. But I got older and just got tired of the arguing, and I learned to not be so quick to judge, but rather to take some time to understand someone's perspective. In fact, I owe my music career to that very notion. So the teacher who is most responsible for the lessons I've learned as both a musician and as a man was someone I met under circumstances that began with a marked difference of opinion. I strongly disagreed with some of the things they said, but instead of arguing, trying to cancel them, trying to make them feel bad, I asked honest questions and tried to understand where they were coming from. Had I not done that, I would have missed out on the greatest personal and musical influence of my life to date. All simply because I wanted to argue and tell someone that they were wrong and a bad person and walk away feeling self-righteous. Who knows where I would be without the lessons that they taught me eventually. But I sure as hell know it wouldn't be in the music industry pursuing the dreams that I was so scared to resurrect. And you know what? I often found that we had the same opinion overall. We were just coming at it from different sides. But in the end, most of us in this country, we all want the same thing. We want to be happy. We want to enjoy our friends and family. We want to do all the things that America stands for, which is the ability to work hard and be recognized for that work, and the ability to live in harmony with one another. So I encourage all you to open your ears, your eyes, your hearts, minds to one another. And these issues are definitely complex. I certainly don't have the answers, but I do have a sincere desire to care for my community, participate in it, and try to welcome everybody into it. And keep an open mind, even when you come across someone who you think has a closed one. Because in the end, most of us have the same dreams, the same wants, the same desires. They may be wrapped in a slightly different package, but we are all very, very similar. Both in terms of music, style, beliefs. I mean, really, country and rap aren't that far apart. They both stem from very similar sources. So don't let someone else's different perspective close your mind. You might see a difference wrapping on the package, but on the inside, you might find something really, really valuable. Hell, you could find the greatest teacher, influence, or artistic opportunity of your life. I did. So thank you so much for watching. Remember, this video isn't about finding absolute answers. It's about forming understanding, forming dialogue, and just thinking about what we do and who it's for. Look forward to reading your thoughtful comments, and I hope to see you on my weekly live chats, which are Sunday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard, 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard, right here on this channel. And don't forget the code word, fish sticks, if you comment on the video. Thank you so much for watching. Be kind to one another. I'll see y'all out there.